Hello and welcome to Taco Town. I'm Leo, aka a Papa Taco. I am the developer, the game dev for this game called Snake Draft. It's a fantasy football simulator. Basically, the whole idea is you play fantasy football with bots. Eventually, I do want to add multiplayer and online co-op and versus. Um, but yeah, this is basically a fantasy football simulation video game, and I just want to show the game off a little bit more today. Our newest feature is leaderboards, which is, I think, pretty fun. You can get your high score for the season and compare yourself with the other people on the leaderboard, try to climb the leaderboard. You can also count your streaks for how many championships you've won in a row or how many times you've got into the playoffs in a row. The game is free right now on itch. It's available to play for free in your browser. The goal of this video today is to kind of give you a little bit of behind the scenes of my design for the game, some of the systems that kind of make this thing tick, and the philosophy of the game, which is basically it's supposed to have depth that is there for people who like to look into stats and trends and find synergies. I'm a Magic the Gathering player originally before I started making video games. I wanted to make a game about drafting where you could just draft very quickly. And then I remembered, hey, I love fantasy football. And so I combined those two passions together. And that's where we got Snake Draft. So the whole idea is every new game, every new run, you're given a new puzzle. So let's jump into one now so I can kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And so it is built on fantasy football knowledge, but another core pillar of the game is making it simple, making it something that players can also learn about football and fantasy football from. I'm gonna do a pro run this time. My last video, if you want to watch it, was a rookie run. We're gonna do pro run. And I did want to show off a little feature here. I had the draft tips enabled, so I'm gonna hide my face because otherwise I get in the way. I have draft tips enabled so you can kind of see what that looks like. So if you are new to fantasy football, or football in general, you will be able to kind of see what I'm talking about here. So we'll just hit the start draft button and you'll get advice from our little guy here, our owl, our weird owl, our Owl Michaels. And they'll give you reasons why a certain player is a good player to pick. So here it says Colonel Mustardson is who I'd pick. Here's why. It pops them up here on the right hand side so you can see all their stats. They're a 92 overall. They're an alpha. They're a receiving back. And they're elusive. Those are their traits. All of those things combine to create their overall rating. Let's just look at some of the tips that we're getting here from the draft tip. So I kind of programmed all of this to find what makes a player successful and find a player who has a lot of things going for them. Important for a running back, they are the clear number one running back on their team. You can see here, Colonel Mutzerson's a 92. The second running back is only a 36. Also, besides that, they're an alpha. That's an extra thing that's going to make them kind of the focal point of the offense, as it says here. It's going to give them more opportunities, claims a bigger share of the team's carries and targets. So boom. This is what you want to look for in fantasy. A running back who gets all the work on their team. In real life, football in the NFL, that's, Christian McCaffrey, that's Bijan Robinson, probably Jahmyr Gibbs this season, now that David Montgomery's gone. But again, if you're not a football fan, just look at the number. 92, they're good. 36, they're not so good. The 92 is going to get the work. In addition to that, it says they're the highest overall PFT, which is their pure fantasy rating here, pure fantasy talent rating, PFT, overall 92. You can see here, 92, they're the number one available. So this feels almost like an obvious pick, but besides it being an obvious pick, there's all these other reasons. They're a running back. The offense runs the ball a lot. You can see the run heavy. This one's kind of a repetition here. There's little competition for carries on that roster. They should get a lot of work. And here's a nice little bonus one. The team has tenacious blockers that will make running easier. So if we click on Lorenzo Mustin, they're a special guy. They're a legendary blocker, primarily a run blocker, selflessly clearing the way for teammates. So this is kind of designed after lead fullbacks. So even though they're the RB2 on the team, on this team, in reality, they're more of a blocker. So they're going to not only make the life easier for the other guy, they're going to block, they're going to let the teammates gain more yards by running, but they're also selfless. They don't take opportunities themselves. They get a smaller share of the carries and targets. And then the last one it says here is their coach boosts the chance of an athlete leveling up. Throughout the game, based on performance and some random events, your athletes might improve and level up. If you have a team with a player's coach, that helps players level up as well. So it says more likely to level up. And that applies to all the players on this coach's team. So that's like, 6 very good reasons to take Colonel Mustardson here. Oftentimes, I would look at more options, but this one is such a locked in pick that I'm not even going to look at the rest. So we'll go ahead and make that draft pick. Actually, but real quick, before I do that, one thing I did want to say is the teams are, every time you start a run, the teams are mostly randomly generated. There are some things that remain true every run, so you can kind of learn these things as you play. One thing that's always true is the Welders are always a run-heavy team. One thing that's always true is the Welders always have Lorenzo Mustin, the legendary blocker. When you start a draft, one thing you might do is say, okay, let's go look at the Welders real quick. Let's see who the running back is. Whoa, the running back is a 92 overall Colonel Mustardson. This guy's gonna crush this season. Every other player on this team is randomly assigned. The only one that was locked in was Lorenzo Mustin. Everyone else was randomly assigned from a pool of, 100 probably athletes that I've designed. And there's a few players like that. Another example that's similar is Steve over here. Steve's a great quarterback, 86 overall, pocket passer, just the kind of traditional take a few steps back, throw the ball, a statue in the pocket, doesn't run. But what that means is they're going to distribute a lot of volume to their receivers. So Steve is always going to be on the Pilots. The Pilots are always going to be a pass-heavy team. So one thing you can always do at the start of your run is look and see, do they have any good receivers? In this case, they honestly don't. But, I might just asterisk these two guys, even though they're not great, because they're the number one receivers for a great quarterback on a pass-heavy team. They should get a lot of volume, and then they should outperform. Even though they're a 48 overall, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys, compete to be, top 20, top 15 even, wide receivers, potentially, depending on who Steve ends up targeting more. The league will always have the same teams, like the Submarines, the Garbage Men, the Pilots, the Beacon, the Miners, the Bridge, the Crash Test Dummies. These teams will always be in the league. That is not changing. What will change is the content of their roster. Besides a few people who are locked into specific teams, like Steve, locked into the Pirates, sorry. I could do a team called the Pirates. The Pilots, and then Lorenzo. Oops, we're not on running back. Lorenzo is always on the Welders. So those are just some things to know. So that way, every time you look at a draft, you can say, okay, let's see who the Pilots receivers are, because we know they have a good quarterback. Let's look at who the running back is for the Welders, because we know they have a legendary blocker and they're a run-heavy team. And so you pick up these things over time and can learn them and kind of build your rosters based on that base. That's kind of the idea. But like I said, let's lock in Colonel Mustardson. And then you'll get 2 or 3 draft advice suggestions from our owl here. This is optional, it's a menu option that it gives you at the beginning of the game. You can turn this on or off. One of my goals for this game was to help teach people who are new to fantasy football. And if you're using this advice in the game, it'll help you win, but this would also help you in a real life draft. If you went and played fantasy football in your office league or with your family, these types of things are also pretty true. So again, we're getting another advice from our owl friend here. And the advice is Dilbert Downtown Jackson. This is my little pigeon that I have here. A deep threat, 76 overall, so an above average receiver. And the reason why they're being recommended is because their quarterback is among the league's best. So Dilbert here is paired with Josh Stallion, a 91 overall, probably the best quarterback in this build that we had. And so in order to be a good receiver, you need a good quarterback throwing you the ball, especially if you're a deep threat. Deep threats are quarterback dependent. You can see here, needs a good quarterback to succeed. If you looked at our other pick, Colonel Mustardson, a receiving back is QB proof, can succeed as a receiver even with a poor quarterback. And the logic there is when you are a receiver, you're usually running short routes. You're like 5 yards down the field, or you're right next to the quarterback, and it's a little dinky dump off. It's like a pass I could probably make, pretty consistently as a normal human being. Obviously not if there's a 300-pound person about to crush me, but if I had time to do it, I could definitely make a pass, a check down, swing pass to a running back. But there's no way in the world me or a bad quarterback is going to consistently hit a deep threat 30, 40 yards down the field. And so that's why deep threat is a QB dependent trait. But Al here is pointing out that in this case, Dilbert is attached to not only a good quarterback, but a cannon arm quarterback. If we look at Josh, cannon arm, no one can throw it deeper. They hit targets with a high ceiling. If we look at Dilbert, he's got a 35 on his ceiling. To compare that with the rest of the teammates, 9, 12, 12. So ceiling's kind of representing, best case scenario. Catching bomb passes is a ceiling trait. High potential for big points. Oftentimes they're boom bust players, but I think in this case, when you've got a deep threat paired with a great quarterback, that's a cannon arm quarterback, and then also they're the best pass catcher on the team, that means that they will succeed pretty regularly. This floor is not something I'm going to worry about on this team, just because when you are the sole target on the team with a great quarterback, that's just a recipe for success. So before I make that pick, though, I just want to look real quick to see what else we could choose. We could choose, for example, the quarterback. This guy leveled up in preseason. You can see they're already level 2. That's just a random event. Beat reporters say Hertz Galore has looked sharp throughout Submarine's training camp. They gained a trait sneak specialist. They were already a sneak specialist. When you get the same trait twice, you become a legendary in that trait. So now they're a legendary sneak specialist. In short yardage situation, when you've got a yard left to go, this player, Hertz Galore, they're going to be like, I haven't drawn the art yet, but they're going to be, what like a warthog or a boar? Yeah, a boar with the big tusks that could gore you. So Hertz Galore is a powerful runner, legendary sneak specialist now. Honestly, I might take them. Even though the recommendation was Dilbert, I think it's just fun to have the legendary sneak specialist and get a lot of rushing touchdowns. But again, a quarterback, I only want them if they have good receivers. And you know what? Actually, no. There's receivers. This is like the worst you could roll. This is the basement level tight end, basement level receiver, basement level receiver, basement level receiver. This is literally like the worst you could roll. That's wild, honestly. I've never seen a team this bad in the receiving department. So no, we're not taking Hertz Galore. Their passing yardage is probably going to be like, I don't know. They're going to struggle to do 100 yards passing a game. It's not going to be pretty. So we'll just take the advice that the owl gave us. The owl definitely also realizes, the owl, I don't know why I say the owl, the advice given to you by the owl, they're looking at the receiving room for the quarterback. So I'm sure Hertz Galore on the algorithm we designed got like a -8 for their receivers as far as how recommended they would be. So yeah, we'll just take Dilbert. And then sometimes too, the advice is actually going to be you can wait. So I already mentioned this earlier. I already started them. So the owl here is kind of seeing what I'm seeing, which makes sense because I programmed the owl. And so what they're saying here is that you don't have to take another receiver now because there's going to be good ones later in the draft. This RJ, the Yak Yak, goes around pick 76. That's way down the line. That's going to be in round 7 or something. And they're kind of pointing out what I pointed out earlier, is that they're on a pass-heavy team. Also, they have the passing mastermind coaching trait, which buffs all the QBs and pass catchers on the team. They've got the great quarterback. We already talked about this. I already added them to the favorites. I'll dismiss that. But, I'll remember that advice, and we already have one wide receiver. We have our running back. So I think we can start looking at, say, tight end. Tight end is pretty sparse this run. Again, it's randomly generated. We had one really good tight end here. Named McBridle is the best of the bunch. That's why they won in the first round. The ADPs are the average draft position. When you are head and shoulders above the rest of your position, you get pushed up in ADP. So Named McBridle went first round, pick 7. And even Darren Walrus here is getting pushed up to ADP 25 because they're a 55 overall, which is well above Zach Elks, and then, a ton of kind of replacement level. So if we don't get one of these two guys, first of all, let's just see if their teams are any good. They have an okay quarterback, a 50, but they have some receiving competition. They have Jets McKinsey, who's a good receiver, and then they have 2 running backs who are pass catchers. You can see because it has a little blue on their chip here. Speedy McGee is a receiving back. Scatbuck Aaron is a receiving back. That means Darren Walrus here is maybe going to be the 3rd or 4th target on the team, on a run-heavy team. Also, this guy, Zumi Pup, is a scrambler. Oh, you know what it doesn't say here is it doesn't say that it adds their rushing role. I need to add that. When you're a scrambler, in case, this is something if you're a football fan. When you're a scrambling quarterback, that means sometimes you're not throwing the ball because you're busy running the ball. But this should say here that it shifts some of their work from passing to rushing. Rush roll, which is what Zumi Pup says. Rush roll, like Scooby-Doo. But yeah, that should say here, rush roll. I think if we looked at, say, Josh or Hertz, yeah, rushing roll, powerful runner. More of their production comes as a runner. Okay, so we looked at Darren. Let's look at Zach. They're on a pass-heavy team. That's a good thing. Pistol Shrimp, solid. And it actually looks like they might be the best receiver on their team. It's close. We have 2 39s, and then we have a 40. As the designer of this game, I'm familiar with a lot of stuff in the game. And so I know that Pistol Shrimp quarterbacks like to target high ceiling receivers because they're gunslingers. Pistol Shrimps are gunslingers. So they target their high ceiling receiver. I know Zach Elks is a high floor receiver, but let's see how their ceiling compares with the rest of their team. 11.1, 14.4, 13.9, 13.9. Yeah, Zach is a very low ceiling. So honestly, even though their overall is pretty good, this guy's tendency as a gunslinger is to throw it down the field, not target the safe tight end with the high floor. You can see they're a chain mover. Reliable receiver, often runs short to immediate routes. Whereas, these guys are chain movers too, but I guess because they're wide receivers, they're just tasked more often with running deeper routes than a grizzled old tight end. Old man Zach Elks over here. And even the lacking lobster, who has a terrible floor, still has a relatively high ceiling because as a wide receiver, they're just running more down the field. So I might take Zach Elks if they're still there late, but I also might pass. Let's take a look at quarterback. We want to find someone with good receivers. No, very bad. One quarterback or a few quarterbacks are going to have to be hogging all the good wide receivers because every quarterback we've looked at so far has had bad wide receivers, and we know good ones exist because here's 3 in the first round. So let's find out who their quarterbacks are. Marsupial Passer Drew. Okay, add them to the queue because they've got a all-star wide receiver with a 93 overall. Pistol Shrimp Jamie. Oh, he's got 2 80s and a pass-heavy team and a receiving back. Okay, Pistol Shrimp is maybe going to be the pick for me, honestly. Even though they're only a 57 overall, the team context with pass-heavy and these 3 good receivers are going to make them quite good. And then who's the other one? A-Dog. Oh, A-Dog actually. Well, but their quarterback's pretty bad, and they're on a run-heavy team. So, Passable Possum might end up outperforming because they've got a good receiving running back. They've got a superstar receiver. They've got a solid second receiver. And even for a third receiver, not bad. But they're on a run-heavy team, and their talent isn't very good. One thing about rookies, though, you can see here it says higher variance. There's a secret, what's the word I'm looking for? Potential stat that gets rolled for every rookie. And so some rookies are going to level up very fast. Some rookies are going to level up very slow. If this one happens to be one that levels up very fast, then they're going to end up being good because they have the receiving weapons to kind of carry them. So I'm going to put them on my watch list, and potentially we can wait and just take quarterback last because we've got, maybe not last, but late, because we've got some pretty good late quarterbacks. Here's one thing about the game is you can take a lot of time here in the draft thinking about all of your picks. I usually wouldn't take this long, but I'm going through the whole thinking process. I'm showing you a bit about the game. If I wasn't explaining all of this, I would be pretty quick with it. I'd be like, oh, good receiver, check, 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 boom, 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 boom. Running back is what we need. Bill bust bets. Pass heavy team. They've got competition. There's an extra running back here. Actually, I wonder if Ace would be... Oh, Ace is available. I kind of want them. You know, even though they're the second running back on the team, because it's a pass-heavy team, you can see here again, it's blue. They're going to be catching the ball more. The coach is also a passing mastermind, so they're going to get our receiving back here into useful positions. They're going to make them catch more balls. And I'm foreseeing potentially Ace Brown outperforming Bill Bust Bets in the long run. And it's kind of I think Ace is a later pick, right? Let's see. Yeah, Ace I can probably get next round safely because there's a lot of running backs ahead. I liked Buzz earlier. We'll take Buzz. Buzz has a pass-heavy team. They're the RB1 on their team. It's RB by committee, but they're also a pass catcher. I think we'll just take them. I don't think they're going to have a monster season, but they'll have a good floor. By which I mean they'll have a few points every game and they'll be startable. And then we'll see how Ace Brown kind of develops throughout the course of the season. And then now we can just look at our queue. RJ is a 76, so let's drop them down. Honestly, we want more receivers. We're going to get RJ later. Oh, Dino, I love Dino. Dino's based on my dog. I can see if I can get him to come. He might be... Let me see if I can get him to come and show him to you on the camera. Dino? Where are you? Oh yeah, I hear his little pitter patters. Let me get him over here. Dino! Up! Up! He's here! Okay. So there's Dino. I drew him pixel art style. And now let me show him to you IRL. There he is. Hello! Can you see the resemblance? Dino! Thanks for coming, buddy. Thanks for listening. I love when you listen. So yeah, he's one of our star players, Dino Dogfuel. So let's take him. Let's take him! And I remembered he had a good quarterback as well, right? Or a decent quarterback, but he's on a pass-heavy team. Honestly, he might not be the best pick because he's the second receiver on the team, but he's always a good pick. When he's Dino, lock him in. Can never go wrong. Okay, I'm gonna probably auto draft soon. I'll take this guy that I saw as being good. I don't have a tight end yet. I probably should have taken one earlier. Let's just get a tight end, then I'll get my quarterback, and then I'll auto draft. Box out Bear on a pass-heavy team. Honestly, they have, again, good quarterback, bad receivers. We'll take Box Out Bear. Box Out Bear is a archetype that's the red zone. They have a low floor and high ceiling because basically if they score a touchdown, they'll be good that week. But this is going to be a tight end with a high probability for touchdowns. I'll lock them in and then go back to my queue. We'll just take both of these quarterbacks. I said I was going to auto draft and then I just go and do every pick. I'll take both these quarterbacks that I scouted earlier, and then our last pick, we will auto draft it. Oh no, let's get this rookie. Draft rookies with your last picks because again, they have that secret potential stat. It might be a boat. They might be great. Let's put in Buzz. We'll get our receiving backs in on our flex and our starting positions. We'll leave the rookie on the bench. We'll go with the stud receivers and the starting spots. And I think our team looks good. So we're up against the main event. And here's how the game works. You set up your lineups. You have an opponent. And you push start match. And then you watch the highlights unfold. Colonel Mustardson with a nice 8-yard run. Bear Dakota. Oh, box out Bear. Yeah, that was the tight end. We took that. I said had a high chance for touchdowns, and they did score a touchdown. Our quarterback only threw 1 touchdown. It's a little sad. Ace Brown did well. 2 touchdowns, a big play. Speedster, 44-yard touchdown run, big play. 10-yard touchdown run. Nice. Okay, cool. In pro mode, there's no injuries. If you were playing on all pro mode, there would be a waiver period there. There is free agents, so you can go in here and say, oh, look, this guy scored a ton of points last week. Maybe I want to add them to my team. I don't know if I am. I am. You know what? I am. They're a rookie. And they already leveled up to level 2. So maybe they'll be good. We'll choose a player to drop. Maybe we'll drop our other rookie quarterback. Yeah, that guy stunk. Doesn't mean they're going to stink all season long, but you can't live with just your draft picks. You got to make moves. All right, start match. We're going to go through this one a little bit quicker than I normally would. We'll even turn up the speed here. Oh, it looks like I'm going to lose. No, hey, box out Bear with another touchdown. That's pretty good. That's lucky. That's lucky, though. You can't always rely on a touchdown every week from your guys, but box out Bear did it twice in a row. That's fantasy football, though. Oh, our rookie did level up. Our last pick. Hey, and this guy also leveled up, the guy we just picked up. So also don't forget to check free agents. Let's look at the results real quick. It looks like, yeah, Zoomy Pup was the second best quarterback each week. Overall, they're the first best quarterback. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, and also a rushing touchdown because they are a scrambler. Which they're doing with, 2 receiving running backs. So probably like safe throws, 1 downfield threat, a solid tight end. So yeah, maybe, and then maybe they rolled a really high potential because leveling up twice in a row, that's kind of rare. So it might be that Zoomy Pup is going to be a breakout quarterback that we didn't really expect. With that in mind, yeah, let's get them in the lineup. Zoomy Pup's been on fire. Looks like Yokai also has been on fire. Yeah, top 10 receiver as a rookie their first 2 weeks. Almost 100 yards in both their games. They're the second best receiver on their team. But they've been crushing. I might throw them in instead of Buzz. I said Buzz might be mid, but with a few points per game, and that's been accurate, about 10 points a game. With the floor work for receptions, keeping them in it. Yeah, we'll go with that. So we're putting our rookies in that have been succeeding in leveling up and hoping that they can continue that and that it's not just a flash in the pan. Yeah, Zoomy. I'm assuming maybe that Zoomy Pup scored a really high potential role. Again, it's hidden, but this is just my hunch based on how well they're performing and how quickly they're leveling up. That one was a bit of a quiet week, not that many touchdowns, but Zoomy Pup carried us into victory. Oh, I don't have my headphones on, but my my son does the voice of the Zoomy Pup leveling up. I should have put my headphones on. I guess when I edit this, I'll hear it. Zoomy Pup just became an accurate passer. So they're crushing. And because they leveled up and got an extra tag, we can go to players, we can look at show all rostered athletes, we can go to quarterback, we can look at the overalls, and Zoomy Pup is now the fifth best quarterback in the league already. Hertz Galore leveled up, so they're doing well. Blue Jay Danny leveled up. Josh, Steve, they leveled up and are still ahead of Zoomy, but Zoomy's pretty much went from probably being down here, really low in the rankings, but after a hot start, they've already established themselves as a dominant force in the league. So yeah, that's exciting. And we got them for free, added via free agency week 2. Our bear didn't score a touchdown last week, but you know, there 4 catches for 38 is not. Oh, what the hell? Why'd they get 18 targets? Maybe the lumberjacks are really porous against tight ends, and they just leave the tight end wide open every time. There's usually a team like that in the league in real life every year, and our game also, calculates different positional defensive rankings, so it's possible that the lumberjacks just don't guard the tight end. All right, I'm talking a lot. Let's just keep going. Let's go fast. Zoomy, 3 touchdowns. Oh yeah, we put RJ in. Dino scored us a touchdown. Zoomy, another one. Zoomy hit deep threat. Jet McKenzie. It'll show you here if their thing triggered. So this yak specialist triggered. Yak. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. I need to settle down a bit. Let me take a drink of water. Or tell me in the comments if you're okay with me talking fast. But yeah, the yak, their yak specialist triggered, gave them a 30-yard touchdown. Yak is yards after the catch. They know how to catch the ball and move it up the field, dodge defenders, make them miss, get extra yards from a short catch and turn it into a long one. And so that was their trait giving them this long touchdown. And then Zoomy here, 76-yard touchdown pass. That was actually triggered by their teammate, Jet McKenzie's deep threat. Sometimes the traits are for yourself and sometimes they help others. Like you might have saw earlier, Colonel Mutzerton has that blocking running back, the blocking fullback. And so it's possible that we might get a blocker trait pop up in the highlights if the blocker cleared out the defenders for a big highlight play. I'm not gonna bench Zoomy because they've been crushing. They were the QB1 last week, which means they were the number 1 scoring QB with 5 touchdowns. I think we accidentally stumbled upon some gold here. And it's possible I should be checking the waivers more often. If you wanted to take the game more seriously and really think about it, you should check the free agents each week. That's how we found Zoomy Pup. Oh no. I've kind of slipped into complacency, which is one way you lose. But there's also reasons to go fast because you don't want to spend too much time thinking. So you weigh it. You weigh the pros, you weigh the cons, and that's how you get the facts of life. Okay. There we go. Yeah, Zoomy's teammates. So I guess that's part of it is Zoomy's teammates are very friendly to the quarterback. The complete receiver, this guy wasn't a complete receiver at the start of the season. This is another rookie. Ex-receiver Oryx RJ became a complete receiver as a rookie, and that level up is helping their other rookie. So it looks like the Rock Climbers here, that's the team, drafted some strong rookies that are really meshing together, a rookie receiver and a rookie quarterback. And then also they have their 2 scat bucks, or their 2 receiving backs. Scat buck Aaron gave Zoomy an easy target at running back and converted that for a touchdown. And so that's also partially probably why Zoomy Pup's been doing so well. And then they box out scored 2 more touchdowns. So like I said before, high volume pass offense, tight end that's kind of comparable with the rest of their team, even though they're not very good. They have a red zone trait, which makes them better in the red zone. And so you can see that's converting into more touchdowns for box out bear too. Fly leveled up. Very good. And wants to put line back in. I don't know. I'm gonna not go with the auto set because you can see here this is green. They give up 40 points to the receiver each week. This team gives up 39.7. Oh no, I clicked the wrong one. Gives up 35. So I think this is a better bet. Just a soft defense. Dang, wow, look at that. Box out bears had some pretty enormous games. That's very rare from a box out bear. Because look at how low their talent is, 37. They're having a magical season. That happens in the NFL. You have Dallas Goedert last season scored a ton of touchdowns, even though they've been kind of, a decent player in the league, but not really fantasy relevant that often in their career. But they had a magical year last year where they scored a ton of touchdowns. And so I think Box Out Bear is kind of doing that here with 4 touchdowns in 6 games. Okay. We're just going. I could have checked for a different tight end, but Box Out's been doing so good. Our traits are triggering. Zoomies scoring. Oh yeah, I called that one earlier. So Colonel Mustardson was sprung for a 23-yard touchdown run thanks to Lorenzo Mustin's blocker trait, clearing the way for their teammate. And besides that, they're giving small bumps here and there to rushing yardage, but then sometimes they just have a highlight play where they really just cleared the way and allowed the big play to happen. Box Out Bear, another touchdown. That's wild. Hope they level up. Gilbert leveled up, okay. The Yak leveled up, alright. And then Zoomy hit the ceiling, so I'm assuming they rolled a really high potential score, is what it's feeling like. So this is when the game feels good, it's when things are going well. But, in real fantasy, that's also true. When things are going well for you, that's when it feels good. There's RNG in real life, there's RNG in this game. You want to give yourself the best shot at good outcomes by putting together good bets, players on good teams, players with good situations, and you just kind of hope. Like you can see here again, Box Out Bear, we've said it a million times, they're not very good overall. They're a filler tight end generally in life, but in their last game you can see they got targeted 7 times, they got hit 7 times. You know why? Because they've got a 99 overall quarterback. They've got Steve Cooler Scanlon here, distributing the ball, knowing how to find their targets and put them in the right place. Actually, that is part of it too. Steve here has the field general skill, puts everyone where they need to be, so it does boost bonus plays, so it is going to cause the red zone bonus play to trigger more often. Yeah. All right. I kind of want to start Buzz because they're up against a weak defense, even though the Yak has been better. But we're just going to play the matchups here. We're projected to win. Buzz has a good floor, so we'll play the safe play. We don't need to gamble on a high ceiling player. Ace Brown with a touchdown. Oh, wow. Downtown Jackson with 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3. That's very rare to have deep threat trigger twice in a game. That's probably like a 1% chance. But they took over that game. I mean, it's usually 1% chance, but we do have, remember, Josh Stallion as their quarterback, so I'm sure that increases the chances quite a bit since they've got that cannon arm. Oh, nice. Ace Brown. I was saying that they might take over as the lead back throughout the season. They just got the workhorse role. We can look at their depth chart and see if they did become everyone on the team. Wow, we got a lot. Oh, Yokai's got that dog. Nice. What this does too is it makes it so they play well even in tough matchups. So it is possible now that Yokai just earned a spot to be in our lineup permanently and never get benched. I wanted to see if Ace Brown moved. Yep, you can see Ace Brown, I said, had the potential to become the RB1 on the team. They are. They're an 82 overall now after leveling up. And they have the workhorse role, so they're going to get a lot of carries. Bill's going to take kind of a backseat. They also have a workhorse role, so they'll probably get a decent amount of runs. Oh, you can see the switch kind of happened here. They only got 8 runs in the last game, whereas they were getting 16 or 17 3 before that, but their production wasn't that great. And so I think the team decided to give Ace Brown the lead role here. Yeah, they also only got 8, but I bet they're going to get a lot more than 8 in these last couple games. They've just been, it looks like, electric on the pass catching, right? They had a big play here And they got 108 receiving yards on 3 catches. Okay, go to current week. I'm gonna click auto set. I did say I might start Lime. Let's see. Lime is wide receiver 15. Tough matchup, but they're good against tough matchups. Crash test dummies. Dog fuel. Top 10. Top 5. Top 10. It looks like the Yak Yak has actually been better, so I'm going to just keep them in. This is the semifinals now. We're playing in the playoffs here. We're the number 1 seed. If we win this, we'll go to the championship. So we definitely don't want to just go in lightly. I'm not going to bench my quarterback, even though they have the tough matchup. And this guy has the easy matchup because Azumi's just been so good. Don't bench your superstars. So really the only choice is RJ or Yokai or Buzz. We'll go with RJ. They had a good game last week, and they have an easier matchup this week. And then you hold your breath, and you hope your guys perform on Sunday, or whatever day the Animal Football League plays. Okay, it was a pretty close match, but we got it there in the end. Dino went and scored 3 touchdowns. Zumi, again, 4 touchdowns. Zumi scrambled for a 21-yard touchdown. Very nice. Ace Brown had a big catch for 44 yards. 69-yard touchdown reception for downtown Jackson. Nice. Very good. Oh, and it looks like our backup quarterback here actually did score more points than Zumi. Zumi was good, 42, but Pistol Shrimp scored 55 and got the accurate trait. Yeah, Yokai. Okay, we're putting Yokai in for sure. Yokai's on fire here in the fantasy playoffs. We don't want to ignore that. And there we are in the championship. So if we win this next match, we are the champions. We're going to put Yokai in. I don't care that they have a tough matchup. They've been cooking. They've been leveling up. They've got that dog, which makes them matchup proof. It's not completely matchup proof. It just means that a tough defense is less impactful on them. And then here's the question. Do we start Pistol Shrimp, who just leveled up and got accurate and was the number 1 quarterback last week, and they've got an easy matchup here against the Magicians? Magicians give up 26 points per game to quarterbacks. Zumi Pup against one of the top 5 defenses against quarterbacks. Wow. Zumi's been the 4th best quarterback the last 3 weeks. They say go with the date you brought to the dance, right? And that would say stay with Zumi Pup. But this easy matchup, no, I think we stay with, damn. It's not that big of a difference. Even though this is green and this is red, it's almost borderline because it's 26 points versus, oh no, it's not. What? 14? Jesus Christ. Okay, we're benching. That's, yeah. The Submarines are the number 1 defense against quarterbacks. You can see here, Zumi Pup is playing against the Submarines. So if it was borderline, it looks like they're just a tough defense overall. Just boom, 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 boom. We'll go with Pistol Shrimp. And they've got Dino, so we've got the hopeful that if Dino catches a touchdown, that's double points for us. All right. Championship. We're projected to lose. Opponent has 156 projected. We have 150 projected. Let's see. That's why I'm going to go on normal speed here. We had a triple firing of touchdowns, but they caught up and passed us. Oh no. Yokai's doing good. There was the stack Pistol Shrimp to Dino. Oh, but we're going to lose. Oh no. And then the sad part would be if Zumi. There's no way Zumi scored like an extra 90 or 70 points compared. We got blown out. Yeah, so we finished 2nd place. A bit of a sad way to end. Let's just do a quick autopsy. Yeah, Zumi got shut down. against the toughest defense. They only scored 16 points. Thistle Shrimp did better. Not enough, obviously. And then some of our superstars did okay, but we had no one who blew up quite like Bad McDonkey over here with 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ouch. That's almost the whole game right there. Once you're done with the season 2, you can go and look at the stats. We did end up with the best quarterback. So we got the best quarterback in free agency, and they ended up being QB1. They scored 331 points, more than anyone else in the league. Looks like Bad McDonkey actually ended up being the #1 receiver in the league. That's pretty impressive. Our first round pick, Colonel Mustardson, actually was outperformed by Gruff McTuff, who was taken a few picks later. I wonder what made Gruff McTuff so good. They were still level 1, which is kind of... Actually, Colonel Mustardson also didn't level up. Sometimes that's just random luck. It also depends on a few other factors. But it's interesting that the 2 best running backs didn't level up at all. Donkey Teeth leveled up 4 times. Donkey Teeth, the workhorse. Gruff McTuff had a strong offensive line. But other than that, I'm not sure exactly why they outperformed Colonel Mustardson. But it happens. Oh, look at this. One of the best receivers was on free agency. I should have checked. That's fine. We had good receivers too, but the wide receiver 6 was here. In pro mode... Alright, hold on. I'm going to clear my throat. In pro mode, the bots don't use free agency at all. They only do it in all pro when there's injuries on, and then they're also programmed to do free agency picks at the end of every week. But if you're playing a rookie in pro mode, free agents are entirely free for you as the player. You could take them. In all pro mode, then you'd have to start competing to get the guys off of free agency. But like I said, if I wasn't being so lackadaisical, I could have looked and gotten another good receiver who was actually better than Dino, Yokai, and RJ the Yak Yak. Flat Rat Patch. This guy here, Bartholomew Staffordshire, has target lock and will lock in on a certain receiver, and so I'm assuming Slot Patch ended up being the locked on target for... well, it looks like they locked onto the 2 guys, Waffle the Yak Yak and Slot Patch. And you can see there's no other beacons here in the top 19. So I'm assuming all of the targets were consolidated to these 2 receivers. And they both became level 5 too, which is another reason why they performed so well. I'm really surprised by how well, honestly, is our tight end, who we took in round 7, outscored Nate McBridle, who's, you know, an elite tight end. Do they have a really bad quarterback? Is that why? Yeah. Mediocre Manatee is like the basement level quarterback, and they were also competing with a superstar receiver. Tight ends and receivers, you want to treat them very similarly in fantasy, as far as you want the one who has a good quarterback, and you want the ones who don't have as much competition on the team for targets. And in this case, Nate McBridle had a bad quarterback and a lot of competition. Box Out Bear had a great quarterback and very mediocre competition. Darren Walrus, though, ended up being #1. Oh, they were the tight end for our emergent superstar quarterback. I wouldn't have guessed from the start of the season in the draft that Zoomy Pup was going to be good. That's why they went undrafted. But after they were quarterback 2 in the opening week with a 4-touchdown performance, that was a hint that they had that secret potential, that rookie variance. They fell on the good side of variance, and they ended up becoming the best quarterback this year. Their passing stats were 4th best for yards, #1, tied with Bartholomew for touchdowns. They also added on a couple hundred yards rushing, a couple touchdowns rushing. They took a lot of sacks. That's okay. They're a rookie. They're still learning. All right. I mean, that's how the game goes. You win some, you lose some. What did we learn? We learned quarterbacks are important to tight ends. We learned check free agency, because sometimes there's superstars there that went undrafted. But yeah, this game, again, like I said before, is completely free. It's available on itch. You can go check it out. Right now, there is leaderboards that were just added. Next month, the goal is to add a new roguelike guillotine mode where you have spells and you can get artifacts to enhance your team. Like maybe there's an artifact that buffs all the dogs on your team. You get like a dog pack artifact, woof woof, and your dogs score extra points, that type of thing. Yeah, and so that's gonna come. And then the thing about guillotine mode is when you win a match, you kill your opponent, and they get the guillotine, head comes right off, and then you can take a player off of their team to make your team grow stronger. So you start with a small team of maybe 3 players. You go through a few matches, you defeat, kill your opponents, and take their players, and you keep going down the field, and you try to get to the end of the field and get to the end zone by guillotining all your opponents. So hopefully you can play this game. Let me know what you think. I have a lot of fun making this game. I have a lot of fun playing this game. I hope you two will find some of that fun and give it a try. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. This has been a magical night.